The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning, handwritten in the careful cursive of someone who still believed that words mattered more when they were crafted by hand. Ellen DeGeneres had received thousands of letters over the years, but something about the lavender envelope and the way the return address simply read, Emma, age 16, made her pause. She opened it during her morning coffee, expecting perhaps a typical fan letter or a request for tickets. Instead, she found something that would change the course of not just one show, but one young woman's entire understanding of love and loss. Dear Ellen, the letter began, I'm writing to you because I don't know who else would understand. My mom died 6 months ago from cancer, and I think I'm losing her all over again. The only thing I have left of her voice is 17 voicemails on my phone, and I'm terrified to listen to them, because once they're gone, that's it. I'll never hear her say my name again. I'll never hear her tell me she loves me again. I'll never hear her laugh again. I know this sounds crazy, but could you help me figure out how to keep her voice forever? Not because I want to live in the past, but because some voices are too precious to lose. Love, Emma. Ellen read the letter 3 times, feeling her heart break a little more with each reading. She'd dealt with grief before, both personally and through her show, but there was something about this 16-year-old girl's desperate attempt to hold on to the last traces of her mother that struck her as both heartbreaking and beautiful. She made a decision that would transform what started as a simple letter into one of the most moving episodes in television history. Finding Emma wasn't difficult. Ellen's team discovered that Emma Richardson lived in Cedar Falls, Iowa, with her father, David, who was still struggling to navigate single parenthood 6 months after losing his wife, Patricia, to breast cancer. Emma was a junior at Cedar Falls High School, an honor student who had thrown herself into her studies as a way of coping with grief, and a daughter who was carrying a secret burden that even her father didn't fully understand. When Ellen's producer called the Richardson household, David was initially skeptical. His daughter had been through enough, and the last thing he wanted was for her private grief to become public entertainment. But when the producer read him excerpts from Emma's letter, David understood. This wasn't about entertainment. This was about a daughter who was drowning in grief and desperately needed someone to throw her a lifeline. She plays those voicemails every night, David told the producer, his voice thick with emotion. I can hear her through the bedroom wall, listening to Patricia's voice over and over. I don't know how to help her. I don't know how to compete with a ghost. 3 days later, Emma Richardson found herself on an airplane for the first time in her life, flying to Los Angeles with her father to appear on the Ellen DeGeneres Show. She carried only a small backpack containing her school books, a change of clothes, and the most precious thing she owned, her mother's phone, carefully wrapped in one of Patricia's scarves. The studio felt impossibly large and bright after the quiet grief of their Iowa home. Emma sat in the green room, clutching her mother's phone, while her father filled out paperwork and tried to reassure her that she didn't have to do anything she wasn't comfortable with. But Emma knew she needed to be here. Something in Ellen's response letter, kind but not pitying, understanding without being condescending, had made her believe that maybe, just maybe, there was a way to keep her mother's voice without losing herself in the process. Ellen met with Emma privately before the taping, as she often did with guests who were dealing with particularly sensitive situations. They sat in Ellen's dressing room, which was decorated with photos of her wife Portia, her dogs, and various moments from her career. It was warm and personal in a way that immediately put Emma at ease. Thank you for your letter, Ellen said simply. It was the most beautiful and heartbreaking thing I've read in a long time. Emma nodded, not trusting her voice yet. Can you tell me about your mom? That simple question opened a floodgate. Emma talked about Patricia Richardson, a high school librarian who read bedtime stories with different voices for every character, who made elaborate Halloween costumes from scratch, who had fought cancer with humor and grace until the very end. She talked about the voicemails, how her mother had started leaving them when the treatments made her too tired to have long conversations, how they had become a way for Patricia to share love and encouragement even when she couldn't be physically present. She knew she was dying, Emma said quietly. The last few weeks she would call my phone when I was at school and just leave messages. About little things, reminding me to take my vitamins, telling me she saw a cardinal outside the window and thought of me, sharing memories from when I was little. I think she was trying to leave me as much of herself as possible. Ellen felt tears prick her eyes. Have you listened to all of them? Emma shook her head. I've listened to 16. There's one more, and I know it's the last one she ever recorded. I can't listen to it because once I do, that's it. No more surprises. No more new words from her. What if I told you there might be a way to keep her voice without losing it? Emma looked up with the first spark of hope Ellen had seen in her eyes. What do you mean? Ellen had spent the past 3 days working with technology experts, grief counselors, and audio engineers to understand what might be possible. Emma, what if we could help you preserve your mother's voice in a way that would let you carry it with you always? Not just the voicemails, but something new? When the cameras rolled an hour later, Ellen introduced Emma to the studio audience with a gravity that immediately signaled this wasn't going to be a typical light-hearted segment. Today I want you to meet someone who wrote me a letter that broke my heart and inspired me all at the same time, Ellen began. Emma Richardson is 16 years old, and she's dealing with something that no teenager should have to face. 6 months ago, she lost her mother to cancer, and she's been holding on to 17 voicemails as the last connection to her mom's voice. Emma, thank you for being brave enough to share your story. Emma walked onto the stage carrying her mother's phone, and the audience immediately understood the weight of what she was carrying. This wasn't just a device, it was a treasure chest of irreplaceable memories. Tell me about your mom, Ellen said gently, echoing their earlier conversation, but now for the millions watching. Emma's voice was stronger now, steadied by practice and the warmth she felt from the audience. Her name was Patricia, and she was the kind of mom who made everything magical. She was a librarian, and she used to say that voices were the most powerful magic in the world because they could transport you anywhere, make you feel anything. And she left you 17 voicemails? Emma nodded, holding up the phone. She started leaving them when she got too sick to talk for very long. They're just little messages, but they're everything to me now. Ellen leaned forward. Would you be comfortable sharing one with us? Emma hesitated for a moment, then nodded. This one is from 3 weeks before she died. I was having a bad day at school. She pressed play, and Patricia Richardson's voice filled the studio. It was weak but warm, carrying the unmistakable cadence of a mother comforting her child. Hi, sweetheart. I know today was rough, but I want you to remember something. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and loved more than you'll ever know. That's not just me talking. That's the truth talking. I'll see you when you get home, and we'll make hot chocolate and watch terrible movies until you feel better. I love you to the moon and back, Emma. Always and always. The silence that followed was profound. Ellen wiped tears from her eyes, and she could see that most of the audience was crying too. This wasn't just a voicemail. It was a love letter from beyond the grave. Emma, that was beautiful. How does it feel to hear her voice? Like she's still here, Emma whispered, but also like she's slipping away every time I play it. Ellen made a decision that would demonstrate why her show had always been about more than entertainment. Emma, I want to show you something. Over the past few days, I've been working with some very special people to see if we could help you preserve your mother's voice in a new way. The studio lights dimmed, and a large screen descended from the ceiling. On it appeared Dr. Sarah Chen, a leading expert in voice preservation technology, joining them via video link from Stanford University. Emma, Dr. Chen said, Ellen told me about your mother's voicemails, and I want you to know that what you have is incredibly precious. But I also want you to know that with current technology, we can do something amazing. We can analyze your mother's voice patterns, her cadence, her unique way of speaking, and create what we call a voice model. Emma looked confused. What does that mean? It means, Ellen explained, that we could potentially create new messages in your mother's voice, not to replace the real ones, but to supplement them. Imagine being able to hear your mother's voice telling you she's proud of you when you graduate from high school, or wishing you luck on your wedding day. Emma's eyes widened. Is that really possible? Dr. Chen nodded. With 17 samples of your mother's voice, especially ones where she's expressing love and encouragement, we have more than enough data to create a very accurate voice model. We could program it to say new things, things your mother would want to say to you as you grow up. But Ellen had been thinking about this for days, and she'd come to a different conclusion. Emma, before we do anything with technology, I want to ask you something. Do you think your mother's love for you depends on hearing her voice? Emma considered this. No, but it helps me remember. What if I told you that there are other ways to carry her voice with you? Ways that don't depend on technology or phones or anything that could break or get lost? Ellen stood up and walked over to Emma. I want you to close your eyes and think about your mother reading you a bedtime story. Can you hear her voice? Emma closed her eyes and smiled. Yes. Now think about her laughing at something silly you did. Can you hear that? Yes. Think about her saying your name when she was proud of you. Yes, Emma whispered, tears streaming down her face. Ellen knelt down beside Emma's chair. Emma, your mother's voice isn't just in those 17 voicemails. It's in your memory. It's in your heart. It's in the way you speak when you talk about her with love. The most important voice isn't the one we can record. It's the one that speaks to us from love. But Ellen wasn't finished. She had one more surprise that would help Emma understand the true power of her mother's voice. Emma, I want you to listen to something. Ellen nodded to her production team, and suddenly the studio was filled with a recording that made Emma gasp. It was her own voice, but not speaking, singing. It was a recording from her high school choir concert, a solo performance of Somewhere Over the Rainbow that her father had sent to Ellen's team. Do you hear it? Ellen asked softly. Emma listened, and gradually she began to understand. In her own voice, she could hear echoes of her mother, the same gentle vibrato, the same way of expressing emotion through melody, the same love of storytelling through song. You have your mother's voice, Emma. Not just her physical voice, but her heart, her spirit, her way of bringing beauty into the world. Every time you speak with kindness, every time you sing, every time you read to a child or comfort a friend, your mother's voice lives on. Emma opened her eyes, looking at Ellen with a new understanding. She's not just in the voicemails. No, sweetheart, she's in you. But Ellen had one final gift that would help Emma transition from preserving the past to embracing the future. Emma, I know you've been saving that last voicemail because you're afraid it will be the end. But what if, instead of it being an ending, it could be a beginning? Ellen reached into her jacket and pulled out a small, beautifully wrapped box. This is for you. But before you open it, I want you to listen to that last voicemail. Right here, right now, with all of us supporting you. Emma looked terrified. What if I can't handle it? Then we'll handle it together, Ellen said simply. With trembling hands, Emma navigated to the last voicemail on her mother's phone. She looked at Ellen, who nodded encouragingly, then pressed play. Patricia Richardson's voice filled the studio one more time, but this message was different. It was longer, more deliberate, and it carried the weight of a final goodbye. My beautiful Emma, if you're listening to this, it means I'm no longer there to tell you these things in person. I want you to know that every moment of being your mother has been the greatest privilege of my life. You are my greatest achievement, my proudest accomplishment, my most perfect love. I know the coming days will be hard, and I know you'll miss me. I'll miss you too, more than words can say. But I need you to promise me something. Promise me you won't spend so much time looking backward that you forget to move forward. Promise me you'll let other people love you. Promise me you'll use your beautiful voice, not just to sing, but to speak up for what you believe in, to comfort others the way you've comforted me, to share the love I've given you with the world around you. You are going to do amazing things, Emma. You're going to love and be loved. You're going to make mistakes and learn from them. You're going to discover parts of yourself you didn't even know existed. And through it all, remember that I am so proud to be your mother. My voice may be silent, but my love for you will never, ever end. Now stop listening to old messages and go make some new memories. I love you, forever and always. The studio was completely silent except for the sound of Emma's quiet sobs. Ellen wrapped her arms around the 16-year-old girl and held her while she grieved, not just for her mother's death, but for the ending of one chapter and the scary beginning of another. When Emma finally composed herself, Ellen handed her the small wrapped box. Open it. Inside was a delicate silver locket. When Emma opened it, she found not a photo but something unexpected, a tiny sound wave pattern etched in gold. "That's the sound wave from your mother saying I love you," Ellen explained. "It's from one of her voicemails. So you can carry her voice with you always, not in a phone that might break, but in something that will last forever." Emma stared at the locket in wonder. "It's beautiful," Ellen helped her put it on. "But more importantly, Emma, every time you look at this, I want you to remember that your mother's voice isn't just in the past, it's in your future too. It's in every kind word you speak, every song you sing, every time you make someone feel loved the way she made you feel loved." As the show wrapped up, Ellen made one final gesture that would help Emma understand the ongoing power of her mother's voice. She invited Emma to record her own message, a message to her future self, to be opened on her 25th birthday. "Emma, your mother left you 17 gifts. Now I want you to leave yourself one." Emma thought for a moment, then spoke into the microphone with a clarity and strength that surprised everyone in the studio. "Hi, future Emma. It's me, your 16-year-old self, and I'm sitting on Ellen's stage trying to figure out how to live without Mom's voice. By the time you hear this, I hope you figured out that we never had to live without it. I hope you're using your voice the way she taught us to, with kindness, with courage, with love. I hope you remember that she's not just in the voicemails we saved, but in every word we speak with her heart. Mom said to stop listening to old messages and make new memories. So, future Emma, I hope that's exactly what you did." 6 months later, Ellen received another letter from Emma. This time it was typed on school letterhead. Emma had joined the school newspaper and was writing articles about grief, healing, and finding hope in unexpected places. The letter was brief but powerful. "Dear Ellen, I still listen to Mom's voicemails sometimes, but not every night. I wear the locket every day, and I've started volunteering at the children's library, reading stories to kids the way Mom used to read to me. I think she would say that's her voice living on. Thank you for teaching me that love doesn't need technology to survive. It just needs us to keep sharing it. Love, Emma, who is learning to use her voice." Ellen kept that letter in her desk drawer and read it whenever she needed a reminder of why she did what she did. Because sometimes the most powerful moments on television aren't about entertainment or celebrity or even inspiration. Sometimes they're about helping a 16-year-old girl understand that the voices we love never really leave us. They just find new ways to speak through the love we carry forward. Emma Richardson graduated valedictorian of her high school class 2 years later. Her speech was about the voices that shape us, the love that survives us, and the responsibility we all have to carry forward the best parts of those we've lost. In the audience, her father cried tears of pride and grief, knowing that Patricia would have been so proud of the young woman their daughter had become. And around her neck, Emma wore a silver locket containing the sound wave of her mother's love, not as a way to live in the past, but as a reminder that some voices echo forward into the future, growing stronger with every act of kindness, every word of comfort, every moment when we choose to love the way we were loved. Because that's how voices truly survive, not in recordings or technology, but in the hearts that carry them and the lives that are changed by them, one loving word at a time.